Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Tuesday. I hope all is well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. You're having a decent start to your week and you're still basking in the glory of that fantastic win on Sunday against Liverpool at the Emirates. Plenty to talk about today. Got some comments from Martin Odegaard about those celebrations after the game against Liverpool. We'll talk about Takehiro Tomiyasu and his new contract, which is close, not done, but close to being signed. We'll talk a little bit about Jorginho's future on the back of his excellent performance against Liverpool as well. Got plenty of comments and questions from you. We'll take a little bit of a look back at what's gone on in the Premier League in the last 24 hours as well, with Manchester City's win at Brentford, moving them level on points with Arsenal and just 2 points behind Liverpool as the title race very much begins to heat up. So let's get started, shall we? And I wanted to start on Takehiro Tomiyasu today, a defender who has had a fantastic start to the season with Arsenal. Obviously, has been away in recent weeks with Japan at the Asian Cup, but he is now back in London and would probably, I would say, start this weekend against West Ham, depending on his fitness. We hope he's come back from the Asian Cup okay. Played 90 minutes when Japan went out against Iran in the quarterfinals. Didn't appear to suffer any sort of injury or anything like that in that game. So providing he's come back and he's fine, I'd imagine he's probably going to play this week because of the injury to Zinchenko, which saw him go off at half-time against Liverpool. And he's had a really strong season, Takehiro Tomiyasu, and he's about to be rewarded with a brand new contract and very much deserves that new contract as well. Yes, there's been a few injury issues since he's been at the club, but on the whole, you look at that signing from Bologna, £18 million for a player like Tomiyasu, for the versatility it gives you, for the quality it gives you. Just a fantastic signing and absolutely deserves a new contract, and very, very happy that Arsenal will be getting that contract done. It's not done yet, as far as I'm aware. It is very much set to be signed, kind of agreed in principle, but it's not yet done and dusted. So we wait for that. So as far as I'm aware, again, I don't think there's an announcement imminent. So I don't think it's going to be today or it's going to be tomorrow, but all signs are pointing that this is now, just a matter of time before the actual contract is signed and it is announced, but it's not quite there yet, but will be very, very soon. Arsenal absolutely wanted to keep Tomiyasu, and it's very obvious why, because as I said, because of the versatility he gives you, because of the quality he gives you in any position he plays across the back line, right back, left back, centre back. You just know what you're going to get from Tomiyasu. Really hugely popular player around the squad as well. So there was never any thought from Arsenal to letting Tomiyasu go. There was lots of interest in Tomiyasu. There has been for the last few transfer windows, basically since he's arrived at the club. Some are looking at it thinking, oh, he's not a regular. Can we sneak in there and get him out of Arsenal? Italian clubs are very keen to get him back to Italy. But Arsenal have never had any thought about letting Tomiyasu go. He's always been a really crucial member of this squad and continues to be a crucial member of this squad. And as far as I'm aware as well, and I imagine that is absolutely correct because he's just signed a new contract. He had never really had any thoughts about leaving either. He's been very, very happy at Arsenal. Even if he's not playing, Tomiyasu's basically the 12th man. I always consider him that, even when he's not in the starting 11. He's pretty much always the first sub. And yeah, so he's always involved. It's not like he's out. If he's not playing, he's out in the cold or anything like that. He's always very much around the first team, even if he's on the bench. And yeah, really happy that Tommy's going to sign a new contract. So we'll wait confirmation of that. We wait an announcement of that, but I think that'll happen fairly soon. I imagine Ben White will be fairly quickly done on the heels of that. Talks continue with Ben White about a new deal. But let me know what your thoughts are on Tomiyasu. How happy are you about him getting very, very close to signing a new contract? Do the injuries concern you a little bit? I can't imagine they would, but if they do, just let me know any of your thoughts on it in the comments below. Right, moving on to Celebration Gate, if you want to call it that. I did briefly touch on it yesterday. I've got to say, if you haven't heard it yet, if you haven't listened to this week's Arscast with Andrew and James over an Arsblog, then I urge you to go and listen to that. You should listen to it every week anyway, because it's such a fantastic podcast. Congratulations to the pair of them for reaching 10 years as well. But this week, yesterday's show that went out in sort of reacting to the Liverpool game, James is, I don't know, monologue, if you want to call it that, at the start, when he's talking about Chris Sutton and the comments that he's made about the celebrations and the 606 phone-in that he hosted. Honestly, go and listen to it. It is comedy gold. It is so good. And there's nothing that I can say that could even get close to putting it as well as James did in that podcast. So I just urge you to go and find it. In fact, I'll put the link to the podcast. If you haven't listened to it, I'll put the link in the descriptions below. You absolutely need to go and listen to it. It's just so funny. But Martin Odegaard's obviously been speaking about this. He was speaking down in the mix zone after the game to some of the journalists who were down in the mix zone. And he was asked about the celebrations and people, the Sky Sports pundit saying that Arsenal celebrated too much. And this is what Martin had to say. He said, I think everyone who loves football, who understands football, they know how much it means to win this game. And if you're not allowed to celebrate when you win a game, when are you allowed to celebrate? We are happy with the win and we'll stay humble. We keep working hard and we prepare for the next one. But you have to be happy when you win. Sam Dean, actually, big friend of the show. I'm sure you've seen him on here before. He wrote a really good piece yesterday looking at the sort of science behind celebrations and how important they are and so how important some people believe. There was a great anecdote in there from Pep Guardiola during his Barcelona times when there was a goal, I think, that was ruled out. And Pep, when the goal went in, he turned around to look at his substitutes to see who was celebrating the goal. And I think some of them were on their feet celebrating, and there was others who just stayed sat on the bench, not celebrating it. And that following summer, every player that stayed sat on the bench, not celebrating, was sold because Pep felt that everyone needs to be as a team together and celebrate together and enjoy moments together, which is a fantastic anecdote. I hadn't heard it before. It's amazing. It was detailed in a book, in Pep Guardiola's book. And look, I just, I said my piece yesterday, and I think it's so pathetic, the whole thing. I can't believe it was even a talking point after the game, but it is. And it always seems to be the way when Arsenal celebrate anything. It's always Arsenal who seems to get picked on. When do you ever see anyone mention Roberto De Zerbi's celebrations after games and goals? I mean, he did it against Crystal Palace. He jumped in the crowd against Crystal Palace, celebrating one of the goals at the weekend. No one even mentioned it at all. And why should they? Because it's fun. Because that's what you want to see. You want to see the manager enjoying themselves. You want to see him being part of it with the fans. You want to see the players celebrating any win. It doesn't matter who it's against. Just celebrate. Why not? It just baffles me out. When did football not become fun? Football is all about fun. It's about a release. It's about forgetting about what's gone on during the week. It's about going to a stadium, enjoying yourselves. For the players, it's about all the hard work that's gone into a week preparing for a game, especially a game as big as Liverpool at the weekend, when you knew what was on the line if it went wrong. In what world are you supposed to just go down the tunnel, as Jamie Carragher said, at full time and not enjoy yourselves after that? Why should that be the case? You've worked so hard to win that game. You've won it under huge amounts of pressure. Celebrate, enjoy yourselves. For the fans, celebrate, enjoy it. It's just, when did the fun get sucked out of football? When does everything have to be so negative? It just does my head in. Even just reading comments about things, always looking for the negatives. Just enjoy the game. It's what it is. It's why we all love football. It's passionate. It is passionate. It's all about a release and enjoying yourselves. And yeah, as Martin said, if you can't celebrate that win at the weekend, then when are you ever going to celebrate? And it's not like they're out on the pitch for 20 minutes. When like you saw everyone doing cartwheels on the pitch, they were out there for about 2.5 minutes. I filmed it. But literally about 2.5 minutes they're on the pitch before going down the tunnel, and you're still getting criticised for that. It just absolutely, honestly baffles me out. But I thought those were very good comments from Martin as well. And there's one here from Sam who's got in touch. He said, what frustrates me more about the Neville and Carragher being part of the celebration police, they were two of the worst culprits for appreciating Klopp's passion when he would run down the line for a goal. Exactly. Always that famous one when Klopp went on the pitch when Origi scored that last-minute winner for Liverpool against Everton in the Merseyside derby, and Klopp was out on the pitch into the centre circle hugging Alisson, and Jamie Carragher was on commentary. You could just see the joy in his face. Look at Klopp. Klopp's on the pitch. I remember Gary Neville at the Euros when he was assistant coach to, I think it was Roy Hodgson, wasn't it? When England beat Wales and Daniel Sturridge scored a last-minute winner. Gary Neville, in his suit, went charging down the touchline and jumped in with the players to celebrate a goal. And he was the assistant manager, and he's doing that. And yet here they are criticising players for celebrating a huge win like that in the title race that kept Arsenal in it. It's just honestly, it's so ridiculous. Anyway, moving on from the celebration police and the absolute waste of space that they all are. Jorginho's been talking a little bit about his future, basically saying that he's not yet had contract talks. Now, we know with Jorginho, his contract's up at the end of the season, but Arsenal do have the option to extend it by a further 12 months. And he was asked after the game at the weekend if there are any talks going on about a new contract. And he says, I am trying to enjoy the moment, to be honest. We haven't spoken about it. And I just want to win games with Arsenal. He said it would mean a lot to win the Premier League. That's the one that is missing to tick off. He's obviously won the Champions League. He's won the European Championships of Italy as well. He's won an awful lot, Jorginho. So we need to enjoy the moment and push really hard to every single game. And at the end, we will see. We have to do a lot and we have to push a lot. We are on the right path. I just think it's a really simple decision for Arsenal. I just think that absolutely should be taking up that contract clause in Jorginho's contract. I don't think. Look, he's not a long-term player for this football club, but given Arsenal are going to have to sign at least one central midfielder this summer, probably two. El Nenny's going. I know El Nenny barely features, but you kind of feel like you've got to replace El Nenny. I would not be at all surprised, of course, if Thomas Partey left in the summer. We'll wait and see what's going on with him and his fitness and what decision Arsenal take. And like I've said many times, Arsenal would have sold or were open to selling him last summer if a good bid came in. A good bid didn't come in. I think it's probably going to be quite hard to expect a decent bid to come in for him this summer, given he's missed most of the season with injury and he'll only have a year left in his contract. But it wouldn't surprise me still if this ends up being Thomas Partey's final season. So then you'd have to replace him. And I think Arsenal will. I think they'll probably spend quite significant amount of money this summer on a central midfielder. We know Zubimendi is a player they absolutely admire. I'm not saying they're going to get him because there's other clubs that admire him as well. And it's not a foregone conclusion that he will leave Sociedad either, which is a club that he absolutely loves and hasn't really been keen on leaving before. So we'll see on that. But he's certainly a player that Arsenal are looking at, and it wouldn't surprise me if they make moves for him. But even if they do and they sign him, and even if they've got, they've still got Declan Rice here, I still think there's a big role for Jorginho to play next season. Clearly still got lots to give. We're seeing that this season whenever he performs. He's a brilliant professional. He's fantastic around the place. On the pitch, he's producing excellent performances, as we saw at the weekend. Off the pitch, he's so important and so well liked by everyone. And I just think it's a really simple decision from an Arsenal point of view. Maybe for Jorginho, he might look at it and he might have offers from somewhere else and think, could I go and finish my career in Italy? So maybe there's a bit of talking to do with him to try and to see what's going on. But from a club point of view, I just think it's an absolute, you just take up that 12 months and then obviously he can go at the end of that when he's out of contract. And that's fine. But I just think there's still so much for him to give and to offer this Arsenal squad, not necessarily team every single week. I don't think Jorginho should be starting every single game. But I still think he fully warrants his place around the place. And I would be taking up that contract. But intrigued to get your thoughts on it. What would you do with Jorginho? Do you think this should be his swan song, his final year? Or do you, like me, think it makes perfect sense just to take up that option, keep him around for another 12 months and then kind of means also you don't have to do so huge, because if Jorginho goes as well, the midfield rebuild you're suddenly going to have to do in a window when you're already trying to sign a striker and potentially a right winger as well, and suddenly you need to bring in two midfielders. That's really difficult to do. So if you can sort of balance that out over the course of two summer windows, so keep Jorginho for one, means you only have to sign one midfielder this summer, and then you keep Jorginho, and then the following summer when he goes, then you sign another one. It just feels an awful lot easier for Arsenal and far less disruption than having to basically replace two very, very key and influential midfielders. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. So Manchester City moved level on points with Arsenal, moved back above them on goal difference with their win at Brentford last night. Looked for a little bit like Brentford might do Arsenal a favour, 1-0 up through Neil Maupay's goal in the first half, but then right on half-time, it was such a killer blow that as soon as it went in, that was it. All my hopes of Manchester City slipping up in that game disappeared out the window very, very quickly. I knew once it was 1-1 and they sort of been boosted by that goal right before half-time by Phil Foden. They were going to go on and win that game. And when they did, Foden scoring a hat-trick, De Bruyne getting an assist. Manchester City's starting 11 looked very scary yesterday with everyone back, with Haaland back, De Bruyne back. There was one hell of a starting 11, and the bench they had as well was ridiculously strong. I think it's 9 wins in all competitions now in a row for Manchester City. They're getting on one of those runs at this time of year like they always do. And they're looking very, very ominous indeed. But when you look at that league table there, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the top 6. Liverpool top with 51, then Man City and Arsenal on 49, Villa just behind on 46, and Spurs in 5th with 44. And then you go back to Manchester United in 6th on 38. So it is very, very tight at the top, just 2 points separating the top 3. And it's I do admit it's looking a little bit ominous with Manchester City right now. But Arsenal just got to keep doing what they're doing. You can't worry too much about City. You worry about them when you have to play them on the Etihad, at the Etihad, which has just been switched to Easter Sunday. I saw 4:30 p.m. kickoff, huge game. You know, when you get to that point, that's when you've got to worry about City from an Arsenal point of view. But between now and then, Arsenal just got to worry about themselves. Just got to keep doing what they're doing, keep winning, keep trying to keep up the pressure, not just on City as Liverpool as well, and hoping that one of those two will slip up. Moving on to some of your questions and your comments here. Now, quite a few of you, I've got 3 of them together, but more than 3 of you got in touch in the comments talking about this. So I wanted to flag it up because I think you're absolutely spot on. It was about Martinelli's goal at the weekend against Manchester City, which obviously came when Alisson and Van Dijk kind of had that miscommunication, and Alisson tried to clear the ball. He actually kicked Van Dijk when you see it, and that made him miss the ball, and Martinelli benefited by rolling it into the empty net. But as a lot of you have pointed out, like Andre at the top there, Bergkamp 48, Mr. Thirst Joe, I think it is, all pointing out, look, Martinelli's not receiving enough credit for the goal, for the work he did. Bergkamp 48. Martinelli, one definition of good luck is preparation and opportunity. Arsenal prepared well with a perfectly executed press. Martinelli, with his pace and persistence, created the opportunity and took it. Andre as well, saying, I don't think Martinelli's getting enough credit for the goal. The little shove came at the perfect time. Alisson was going to clear, and suddenly VVD was pushed into his path. Alisson already left the ground by then and looks to avoid crashing into VVD, which causes him to miss the ball. If Martinelli doesn't do that little shove, Alisson clears it 100%. Definitely miscommunication, but that cheekiness is something we need in the team. You create your own luck. Mr. Thurso at the bottom saying it was not a screw up between Van Dijk and Alisson. If you watch the correct replay, the fact that Martinelli bumped Van Dijk just enough so that Alisson's foot struck lightly on Van Dijk's hip as he goes to try the ball. Good on Martinelli for causing havoc. Yeah, 100%. As I said yesterday, you do make your own luck at times, and it was a classic example of the reward you sometimes get from chasing what looks like a lost cause. And Martinelli did that. He kept the pressure on. The little shove he gave Van Dijk was perfectly timed, and it did certainly have an impact on what happened between the two of them. And Martinelli took full advantage. So fair play to Martinelli. It was a fantastic performance from him. Loves playing against Liverpool. Absolutely loves it. And he just did not stop all game, kept causing them problems, and he got his reward, that goal. So as many of you have pointed out there, absolutely he deserves plenty of credit. Okay, moving on to Hampstead Owl here and Lucas, who are both talking about the West Ham game. Arsenal go to West Ham on Sunday. Have lost 2 games against West Ham this season, losing the league, of course, painfully at the Emirates just after Christmas, going down, what was the score? 2-0? And also losing 3-1 in the League Cup at the London Stadium. Hampstead Owl says, agree with what you say about how vital the importance of following up with a win at West Ham. It would be so very Arsenal to screw that one up after yesterday's result. And Rice, incidentally, is overdue a top draw performance against his old team. But they are very much our bogey team at the moment. Even the women's team lost to them. I see they did for the first time in West Ham's history. The women beat Arsenal women at the weekend, which was a really painful one for Arsenal, losing 2-1, 3rd defeat of the season in the league for Jonas Alderweireld's side, looking very, very tough now for them to go on and claw that title away from Chelsea this season. Lucas says, hi, Charles, would you start the same team against West Ham next weekend? Great show as always. Thank you very much. Keep up the great work. Yeah, would I start the same team? I mean, this game is so important, as Hampstead Owl says, and I spoke about it yesterday. It's bigger than last weekend now. Last weekend's done. It was fantastic. It was a brilliant win. It was a much needed win, vital win, but it's done. It's in the history books. This weekend is now the biggest game of Arsenal season, because the worst thing that could happen would be for Arsenal to go to West Ham and not back up that Liverpool game, basically undo all of the hard work that they put in to winning at Liverpool. They have to go to West Ham, who they've struggled against this season, who they've lost twice to this season. They have to win. They have to back up that win at the London Stadium. It is so, so crucial. I'm sure Mikel Arteta will have been drilling that into his players all week at the training ground. We'll be talking about the importance of this game. And West Ham will go into it in confident mood because they've beaten Arsenal recently twice. You know, they will fancy their chances, and it's going to be a really, really difficult game. And Arsenal have to stand up to that. They have to assert themselves, and they have to play a hell of a lot better than they have against West Ham so far in the last couple of games. In terms of the team, Lucas, would I keep the same team? I don't know. I mean, this is a really interesting one. It's really difficult because as good as Jorginho was, and I really thought Jorginho needed to start that game against Liverpool, I look at this game at the weekend and I think, is this a game for Jorginho, or do you go with the extra attacker? Like Mikel said after the game against Liverpool, when he was preparing for it and he looked at Jorginho, he said it felt like a Jorginho game. The way Liverpool play, they make it very hard to have that extra attacker in that type of position. And that was really obvious. Why? Because Liverpool's so good going forward. They cause you so many problems going forward that to have that extra stability was really, really key. And that was so crucial to Arsenal getting a win at the weekend. Do you need to have that extra layer of security against West Ham? Or do you want to maybe be more on the front foot and add another attacking player into that? When Arsenal play against really, really low blocks, which we've seen this season when they went to Everton, for example, and they won 1-0 at the start of the season, Fabio Vieira played in that game rather than Kai Havertz. You had sort of Vieira and Odegaard next to each other. You think back to the Nottingham Forest game last week before Liverpool, Emil Smith-Rowe came in and played in that position next to Martin Odegaard. I don't think West Ham are going to play as deep as that at the weekend. They've got some really good attacking players, West Ham, obviously, with the likes of Bowen and Kudus and players like that. So I don't think they're going to play as deep as the likes of Everton did at Goodison, and certainly as Nottingham Forest did at the City Ground. So it's really tough. I don't know. Basically, I'm talking myself out of what I would do at the moment. I need to really think about it, Lucas. I think I like the idea of Smith Rowe coming back in for this game. I can fully understand why he didn't start against Liverpool. Absolutely. But I kind of like the idea of Smith Rowe coming back into this game. But then again, Arsenal played so well against Liverpool. Jorginho played so well against Liverpool. Does it just make sense to keep the same team and try and keep that sort of momentum going? So I think I'm going to have a little bit more of a look about it. Obviously, I think Tomiyasu is going to come in at left back because Zinchenko is injured. I know Kivior played very, very well against Liverpool when he came on, but I'd be going with Tomiyasu at the weekend, especially if you're coming up against someone like Kudus. It just makes sense for me to play Tomiyasu. So right now, I would say play Smith Rowe rather than Jorginho and have Rice as a 6 and then Smith Rowe and Odegaard as the two sort of attacking number 8s. But come the weekend, I might well have changed my mind, Lucas. So thank you very much for your question. And thank you to everyone who got involved in today's show. Appreciate it as always. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow once again as we start heading towards the weekend. Got Inside Arsenal Extra Time with James Benge coming up. We haven't actually nailed down a time. I think we're probably going to do it on Thursday, but keep that in your minds. If you want me and James to discuss anything Inside Extra Time, you know what to do. Let us know in the comments below. I'll gather them all together, but I'll give you another reminder of that in tomorrow's show because I don't think we're going to do one tomorrow. I think it will definitely be Thursday, potentially Thursday afternoon for that. But until then, have a very good Tuesday, everyone. Appreciate your time. As always, speak to you soon. Bye-bye.